What's going on, GBA universe? This is TheUziGunner bringing you people the very next episode of Trainer Cards, the show where the backgrounds of all coaches that are competing for this season of the GBA are covered. As far as today's episode goes, we're going to be taking a look at the man who's made a pretty great impact from his very first season competing here, Lars aka ElScizor. So with that out of the way, let's get this show on the road. Lars is a man who made his debut in draft format in the very first season of the GPC. Not only that, but he went on to win the entire thing on his first try, which is pretty amazing. Since then, he's competed for 2 more seasons, made his debut in the season 5 of the GBA and competed there for 3 straight seasons, and of course, 1 season in the IBA, giving him a pretty vast exposure to league format itself. He's won a total of 48 games and lost 32 of them, giving him a pretty decent winning percentage of 60. He's been able to add another title in his list of accomplishments by winning the ICBA once, and has reached playoffs a total of 4 times, showing that he surely is no stranger for being in it for the long haul. As far as the type of teams that Lars liked to use goes, these 2 would be the best examples. The first one was used in the ICBA, while the second one was used in the Season 5 of the GBA. He is more or less a fan of balance that presents him a lot of options, but most importantly, makes sure that it is in sync with his style. Great volt turn options to ensure that he's able to dictate the pace of the match, along with being able to pivot as effectively as possible. He wants to always have the option of not being able to go into a game without a bulky Pokemon to chew hits every now and then, which for sure acts as a solid contingency plan. Oh, and drafting Pokemon that are busted beyond repair, like Speed Boost Blaziken and Sheer Force Landowai, of course. Speaking of which, the Pokemon with the most kills for Lars is unsurprisingly none other than Landorus Incarnate. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is quite figuratively Lars' bread and butter, because in a span of 3 seasons, he's managed to secure a total of 46 goddamn kills with it, while suffering only 15 deaths, which is insane. As far as why Landorus Incarnate got so many kills, other than obvious self-explanatory reasons, I feel that a lot of credit has to go to the team support that he had with it. As I mentioned before, his teams would create scope towards being able to pivot leniently, which I believe is something that's helped Lars get as many switch-ins into Landowai as possible before having it do all the rest. He's also not the kind of player to run Life Orb each week, but of course run the needed berries to add to its bulk and have it be able to take hits quite leniently before going on from there. He'd always know exactly just what to do to have it exert as much pressure on his opponent's team and eventually have them crumble under it. This exactly shows why him and Landowai are the iconic duo of League format. And now for the final segment of the video, let's talk about Lars as a battler. I've mentioned this numerous times in this video, but if there's anything Lars has shown that he's been able to do very well, it'd have to be pivoting. You see, when the situation calls for it, he isn't necessarily afraid to roll the dice and risk one of his main mons, which won't take other hits from the opposing Pokemon well, if it means he'll get himself back into a position to apply more pressure to his opponent. That sense of aggressiveness is something that's paid a lot of dividends for him in recent time. Not only that, but he doesn't necessarily always stick to such a risky strategy, which would otherwise make his playstyle rather predictable, thereby throwing his opponents for a loop. Having the courage to make such level of plays and properly follow through with it is something that makes Lars a very formidable opponent. While that certainly is a great selling point for him as a battler and has been able to give him a lot of success, there still is a price that does come with it. You see, if any of his opponents do catch on to how he plays and adjust to his playstyle accordingly, it sure does throw Lars off his game big time, which would then result to him having a hard time predicting his opponent's moves and being hesitant to pull the trigger. It's one of the many reasons why his matches against A-Drive were all nail biters, and something he consistently had a lot of trouble with. These constant two-way street scenarios is in itself something that has been a curse as much as it has been a blessing for Lars, as it is a scenario of exactly who it is that gets in his opponent's head first. But despite that, he is beyond a shadow of a doubt, a solid player that is capable of becoming a top tier candidate for the GBA title, and I genuinely believe that with enough trial and error as well as consistency, the idea of him going all the way and becoming the champion really isn't far off. So with that being said, that's the end of this episode of Trainer Cards. I hope you all managed to enjoy this, and if you did, feel free to drop a like on this video and let me know in the comment section down below what are your thoughts on Lars as a draft battler. I'm your host, TheUziGunner, and I'll see you all next week. Peace!